Hey everyone, we're live on Facebook. Wow, that was quick. It just went live almost automatically.
It surprised us.
Right on. What about this whole thing, Andrea? I'm just going to jump right into the topic because I got a lot of stuff to talk about. What do you think
Go
about
right in there.
hearing about this spike protein and all these different things, right?
Yeah, what's up with that?
I mean, holy cow, Andrea. I mean, before last year, did you ever hear of like the cytokine storm?
No, not me.
No, nobody did. Nobody heard about cytokine storms. Nobody heard about cytokines. And what the heck, And now we keep hearing about this spike protein.
Yeah, spike
And,
protein sounds
and
bad,
it sounds bad, right? And the Delta variant.
right?
I mean,
How about
Andrea,
the UK variant?
I just wrote down some things, but last night I was sitting here and I was reading about all these different things that have to do with the coronavirus, and I do this because, um, I'm trying not to get tagged by Facebook, so my post gets deleted. I don't want my video, deleted off of YouTube and all that. So let's be clear right away. Let's be
You
extremely
should probably
clear.
just say CV then.
I did that, and Facebook still caught it. I separated the
Really?
C and the V even with a space, and they still caught it. So
Yeah,
so
but now we're doing video, so
but YouTube's going to do the same thing. So here's the deal, everyone. For those of you that are listening, we're not going to talk about cure. We're not going to talk about treat. Well, I don't know. We might.
we might get kicked off today, folks.
Yeah, and here's why, is because we're gonna report on the research. I'm gonna show you some of the research that backs up what I'm saying. We're not gonna list any products. You're gonna have to go looking for things on your own. And we're gonna talk about some medications and way back, a year ago, we were hearing about people using HCQ, hydrochloroquine, right?
Yep,
And
HCQ.
and we heard about, I mean, when you got sick, they put you on zinc, right?
They put me on something else. Yeah.
But okay, a lot of people get put on high levels of zinc and vitamin C, and so we're going to talk about things like that. So, will there be some mention of treatments? Yeah, I mean, how can you talk about this? If we're talking to people, of course we're going to share some ideas, but we're not going to say cure, treat, or anything like that, And
Right.
so, if you're taking my video, if you're taking this video and you're sharing it, if you're listening to this YouTube video and you're sharing it, please make it crystal clear that you're not promoting a product. Don't promote a product with this video. If you're promoting a product with this video and somebody's listening to it, hey, look, I'm not doing that.
Me either.
I want to be crystal clear because I don't want the FDA sending me a warning letter. I don't need that. And I can show you the warning. I can show you the warning letters that, so, some people have a fear that the vaccine itself might be dangerous.
You want me to talk about that?
Nope. I'm just saying, some people have this fear, don't they? Some people have this fear, don't they?
Well, not a fear, a knowledge. Let's call it that.
We're learning so much that there's theories and I don't even know if there's any real facts yet, because like, I was reading a medical doctor's opinion this morning, and he was saying, he said, look, we've had enough problems with the vaccine that treatment should be halted.
Oh, yes, exactly.
But that's
Do you remember, like, 5-6 years ago, 5 kids broke out with a childhood disease out in California in Disneyland, and the whole world went crazy about it.
5
the whole
people.
world, 5 people, and now we have thousands of people affected by this.
Thousands of people. Yeah.
Thousands.
I was just reading, oh, I forget what country I was just reading on, but this morning it's one of the eastern countries, Asian countries, and they're saying that it's going to be mandatory in their country. Everybody has to get vaccinated.
And actually, that goes against the Nuremberg codes. You cannot coerce an experimental product.
Well, they've made it mandatory. You can't get out of it. Their country is going to make it mandatory. And I thought, that's interesting. You know,
Very.
and I mean, like, I've got all these credit card miles that are stacking up, because I use my credit cards for everything nowadays, because it's so easy for my tax purposes and everything like that. And so I get lots of credit card miles, and I don't think I'm going to be flying for a while,
I'm not going anywhere.
and so I'm giving my points to my kids and things like that. But Andrea, I'm not going to say that the fear of this thing isn't real, because I'm going to go over some of the things, the side effects of if you do get sick. If you do come down with the coronavirus, if you do get sick from it. And a friend of mine was just out in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And he was hanging around with some of his buddies out there, and he got back. Guess what? He's sick with corona.
Maybe.
No, he is. He got tested, and we were talking the other day, and he said, he says, I'm not coming out, because he was supposed to be here this week. We were going to go fishing all week, and he said, I'm not coming. He said, I think I might have the Rona, and so he went and got tested, and sure enough, he did, So, yeah, it's real, so I'm not going to say that it's not real, because in the beginning there was some controversy on that. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't be, do everything you can as far as like prevention, because I think that's the most important thing is don't get it in the first place.
And that's key, and we've discussed all through the year the importance of vitamin D. And recently, 2 weeks ago, I think we talked about, that you have to have enough magnesium and K2 in your body to uptake the vitamin D. I was doing 10,000 units of vitamin D when I figured out that I had CV, and continued that until the end of March, when I was muscle tested, and it was determined that I wasn't assimilating any of the vitamin D. So I bought a different one, and I wasn't assimilating any of that one. But I have seen a video where that is one of the most crucial things to have in your body, is the vitamin D. Every cell uses it. And the doctor who was sharing this information said we didn't have a CV virus, we had a lack of vitamin D. And you and I have talked about how people above the 35th parallel in the winter get absolutely no vitamin D. You can go lay naked outside all day if you want. You're not going to get any. So
you might get something else.
Yeah, probably arrested. But yeah, so that is one of the most important. And I saw information too that people with high levels of vitamin D, it hardly affected them. So we have all these people who are barely affected, and then people who got extremely sick like I did. And I actually had my vitamin D levels checked, and I'm very low. So
yeah. So, like we talked about on the call a couple weeks ago, the magnesium and vitamin K2 are really important for absorbing vitamin D. So, yeah. So anyhow, there's some of these, I'm just looking at some of my notes that I wrote this morning. I took a lot of notes, and so they're saying that there's going to be a new pandemic, basically from the side effects from having the disease, and possibly from having the vaccine,
just go.
the jab, right? And so I was sitting there last night, Andrew, and this is what kind of got me thinking last night. It was about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and hey, I was sitting here, and I every couple nights a week, I see this car cruising up and down my street about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night with the lights shut off, right?
Wait, is it a black SUV?
It's a black van.
Are there men in black?
And well, I didn't think about it. Maybe they're watching me, but
Hey, they're tracking Dr. Mercola.
interesting. I never thought about that. Oh, now you got me worried. But so
Real
I'm reading.
arms.
I'm reading about this stuff. Maybe they're watching my internet and they're saying, "Oh man, this guy's he's up to something." But anyhow, so anyhow, I just thought about it. I don't have dementia. I'm not winging off onto something else. I'm just saying that. So about 11:30, I'm reading up on this stuff and I'm doing my own little searches and I'm coming up with all these things to talk about today. And again, I see this black van with its lights shut off at 11:30 at night cruising down my street, and I can barely see it in the moonlight. And so I go in my kitchen where my kitchen lights are shut off so they can't see me, and I'm looking through the window, and they cruise down the street and then they park down at the end of the street over here under the trees in the shadows, right? And they've been doing that, and so I notified the sheriff, a couple weeks ago, and I said, hey, I said, there's something going on. There's some funny business going on. And so the sheriff said, well, I'll send a patrol out there every so often. And I think I saw the patrol come down the street maybe once, maybe twice. And so I texted the sheriff last night. He gave me his cell number, and I texted him and I said, hey, he's here. He's parked at the end of the street. The van is parked there again.
Mm-hmm.
And, and the sheriff said, well, we'll have a patrol out there right away. 20 minutes later, no patrol. And I saw the car, I saw this van start up and cruise, but because they didn't have their lights on and it's dark out there, there's no street lights. So I didn't see which direction he went. Sheriff asked me, which way did he go? I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, get your butt out here faster.
So what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to sneak out the back door and I'm going to go get the license plate number.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyhow,
but it's probably the CIA.
Yeah, it probably is. But okay. So I wanted to find out last night when I'm reading up on all this stuff, getting back to the subject at hand. I wanted to find out, so what's this connection? What's the connection between the CV and the long haul? The long haulers, the people that tend to have problems, and then what's this thing to do with the vaccine? And so it's this spike protein.
Yes.
Spike protein. So that's the whole thing. So what is the spike protein? People, I know a lot of you that are listening to this, a lot of you that, are unfamiliar with medical terms and things like that, okay. So what is it? Well, the spike protein is, I think here, let's go to a share screen that I have. And I'll show you this. So here it is. Mechanisms of the coronavirus cell entry mediated by the viral spike protein. Interesting, right? We talked about that last year. We talked about it a lot. Tom Sr. talked about it a lot, right? So let me see if I can find. Okay, you see that picture there?
Yes.
The one in the back, right?
Mm-hmm. That's normal.
So that's what this virus looks like. Mm-hmm. So all those little suckers, all those little spikes, that's the spike protein that they talk about. And like it says under the picture, it says, this is from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, by the way. So this isn't something that I'm just goofing around and looking up. So it says, hello to spike, right? And it talks about how this actually works, right? Mm-hmm. So that spike, right? What it does, that spike glycoprotein that you're seeing right there on the screen right now, what it does is it looks like a porcupine quill, and it's all around on these, and what it does is it attaches to your cell.
Yep.
And then it emits this enzyme or whatever, that what it does is it dissolves the cell membrane,
Mm-hmm.
and then it injects itself within your cell.
Yep.
You know, and so it talks here. It says the spike protein of coronavirus is one such viral glycoprotein. Ebola viruses have one. Influenza virus has two. Herpes simplex has 5. Right,
Mm-hmm.
and so it talks about these spike proteins. You can go look this stuff up again. You know, here's the article. Here's the article, folks. And so, you know, I wanted to see what that is, but check this out. So, boop, 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 boop. I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find an article that I. Oh, here. The deadly coronavirus spike protein, according to anti-vaxxers. So this is an interesting article as well. Science-based, man. I look at all aspects. I'm looking at, you know, the vaxxer side. I'm looking at the medical side. I'm looking at the research side. And then I'm looking at, you know, what are the anti-vaxxers? And you might call me an anti-vaxxer. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm just a pro-information. And anti-vaxxers are citing 3 papers support their claim that spike protein produced by the COVID-19 vaccine is dangerous. Unsurprisingly, and as usual, they're misinterpreting the studies and misrepresenting their significance. COVID-19 vaccines are, in fact, very safe. Well, okay. Yeah, okay. We'll just leave it at that.
Well,
You know,
FYI, they aren't. We should call them jabs or injections because they do not qualify to be a vaccine, for one thing.
yeah. So this comes from April 30th, 2021. The novel coronavirus spike protein plays additional role in illness. So this is from the Salk Center. You know, Salk. You know what he's famous for, right?
Yeah.
And it's yeah, vaccines, right? Salk Center, Salk vaccine. And so this is a paper that was published in April of this year, and it shows that you know, it says vaccines have this spike protein. The whole idea is that they're going to introduce the spike protein into your body, and the whole idea is that your immune system is going to say, hey, that's not normal, and it's going to build up immunity to it.
That's how vaccines work.
That's how they work. That's how they work. But so when the problem comes in is that and I think I have research on this too. Let me see if I can find it. Oh. So the problem with it is that with this spike protein, if I take and give it to you in a vaccine, what if it never goes away, Andrea?
Well, here's what I've heard lately is they use these as a way to introduce things into the body, but what they thought would happen is that it would go into the muscle where it was injected, and then sometimes it actually moves into a little bit of the lymphatic system around there and creates the reaction they want. What they're discovering about this is it is traveling through the entire body to major organs.
Yeah, and it's attaching to a lot of different places. Anywhere, and this is what I was going to say, anywhere that there's an ACE2 inhibitor.
Yeah.
Or not an inhibitor, an ACE2 receptor.
Receptor.
An ACE2 receptor, right? So, and these are found in your epithelial cells. And what do? You know, again, I'm reading off my notes here. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm reading my notes.
That's good.
So so the ACE2 inhibitors, I'm going to delete these as I go through them, so that what are they, right? What is an ACE2 inhibitor? And so you know, folks, do your research on this stuff. I mean, I'm just showing you stuff really quickly. I'm not giving you the websites. I'm just saying that, you know, you got to look this stuff up. So what it does is the ACE2, it's an enzyme, right?
Mm-hmm.
The E stands for enzyme. And what that means is it breaks things down. So it's breaking down these particular proteins, right?
Right.
And so when the coronavirus gets in there, it stops this receptor site from doing what it's supposed to do. It stops its enzyme from doing what it's supposed to do. So what that does is that creates oxidative stress within the cell, and that oxidative stress, when it gets massive oxidative stress, extreme
Mm-hmm.
oxidative stress, guess what
Mm-hmm.
that is, Andrea?
Inflammation.
Cytokine storm.
Cytokine. So you could possibly have cytokine storm in your heart, your lungs, your liver, your ovaries.
Yeah. So this cytokine storm, yeah. I mean, and so it can, you know, so you know, why is this this ACE2 inhibitor? Why is this coronavirus? Why is this spike protein? What do we got to have to say about this? So the vaccine introduces this spike protein into the body. It's not attached to the virus. So the whole theory is that, hey, we're gonna introduce this spike protein so your immune system attacks it, but it doesn't have the virus, so you can't get sick from coronavirus. True.
And
True.
again, that's not how vaccines work.
But the virus isn't there, so you
Right?
can't
Virus
get
isn't there.
so you can't get the coronavirus. But here's what happens is that when it's not attached to the virus, like you said, this spike protein can float around in the body through the lymphatic system, through the bloodstream, to whatever. It doesn't just stay at the site of the injection. And so then it introduces this to the other parts of the body. And then this spike protein, guess what it does? It attaches to your cells.
Mm-hmm.
And
when
it attaches to your cells, there's where the problems arise. So hang on. So coronaviruses, overview of the replication of pathogenesis. I'm just trying to show you that, you know, here I looked this stuff up, and it says characterized by spike-like growths on there, right?
mm-hmm.
And then using you know, different imaging, things like that, they can go look at this stuff. But I wanted to find, you know, so characteristics of the SARS and that it causes all these different things to happen in the body. But I'm looking for an article. Hang on. Okay. Long haul COVID. You know, and it talks about the different diseases that it talks about the different diseases that can arise from getting an infection. So I want to find. I thought I had an article in here. They're showing that it can cause acute kidney injury.
It causes brain fog.
It causes neurologic complications.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Cleveland Clinic, one of the most renowned clinics, you know, in the world, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they're saying that it can cause the neurologic complications. This is what my son tells me all the time. He said, you know, and you know my son Sammy, he's pro medicine, boom, 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 yeah, hammered it into me, you know. He said, Dad, you don't want to get this, and I'm like, I know exactly, I don't want to get it.
No,
You don't have to tell me. And he said, you know, they have a fairly high risk of neurologic complications, including encephalopathy, stroke, central nervous system infection, seizures, neuromuscular diseases. And they're reporting their loss of smell and taste, and neurocognitive impairment that lingers on. I was talking to a couple people at my son's wedding the other day, or the other week, 2 weeks ago now. It's 2 weeks ago. And they were saying that they had it, and they still seem to have ongoing, a year later, they still seem to have ongoing problems with their neurological system. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, yeah, I said, that's, that's one of the problems that, that has to do with this. So SARS-2 infection depends on the ACE2 inhibitor, protease inhibitors. There's another article that, oh, here's what I want to talk about. Autoimmune diseases. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so this is one of the other complications, Andrea. And folks, sorry if it seems like I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. There's so much information. You can see across the top of my screen all these articles that I'm going to share with you this morning. And we only got so much time to talk. And so I'm just kind of buzzing through them really quick. So what happens is this spike protein attaches to your cells, and let's say that it doesn't cause any problems, it doesn't cause any infections, and it doesn't cause you to have anything to go wrong, right?
Okay, so we're talking about the spike protein from the jab right now. Okay.
Spike protein from the virus itself or from the jab, either.
Okay.
Right? No matter where you get it, let's just say you get this spike protein and it attaches to a cell, and it sits there not attached to the virus. It's just attached to your cell. And what happens is that it can actually trigger a system where it actually starts replicating itself. So the spike protein without the virus can actually replicate itself. That's a problem. And as they're talking about here, again, folks, this is from the National Institutes, National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health. This is a research article that was published in March of this year, and they're talking about autoimmunity. So all of a sudden you get these spike proteins that attach to your cells, and your immune system does what it's supposed to do, and it attacks it, and it develops cells that go, hey, that kind of, excuse me, my dog is bothering me here. It starts looking for other cells that look like it. It looks for other proteins that look like it, these antigens. And so it develops a autoimmune condition where it attacks your body. So it says that it's similar to what you're seeing with Guillain-Barré disease, right? Lupus, right? And it can trigger autoimmune responses. So this is an interesting article. Look it up, folks. I mean, it's COVID-19 and autoimmune disease. And I thought, huh, interesting.
Well, just to take a little step back while you look for the next thing. So if we have the spike protein in there, however you got it, through the first part or through a jab, and it goes in and it starts to manufacture its own spike proteins in your body, you now have become a factory of these spike proteins.
Yes, you can. Some people can. So, severe respiratory SARS-CoV infection, does the ACE2 inhibitor, the ACE2 receptor site matter? Yeah, it matters. Okay. Let me see if I just want to make sure that the novel coronavirus spike protein plays additional role in illness, right? So we already went with that. That's a Salk one. Let's see. I just want to make sure that that I've covered all the basis to show you that this is some real stuff. This isn't just this just
not our opinion.
Yeah. Here's published May 23rd last year. So this is a year ago, over a year ago. And they were talking the month of December 2019, critical role in time of humanity when the first case of coronavirus was reported in Wuhan. So this is interesting. It's an interesting article, and it talks about how this first reported and how it causes both in animals and in humans, it caused severe respiratory, gastrointestinal, liver, and neurological diseases. Right? And so it goes through. It can lead to pneumonia, congestive heart failure. I mean, so this isn't anything to fool with, folks. I mean, this isn't anything to fool with, and that's kind of what so that's kind of what I want to talk about. You know, is that so before, because I want you to see this stuff, you know, before I start talking about what some of these scientists are actually talking about. Um, you know, so you'll see me talking about a couple of things that they're using, right?
Mm-hmm.
To actually um, okay. I think I've got
I gotta move so I can plug my phone in. Keep talking.
okay. So I think I got a good background. Oh, here. Gene of the month. This is from Clinical Journal of Clinical Pathology, and this was actually this was actually the 2019 COVID SARS-2 novel coronavirus spike protein, and they're saying that the year 2020 has seen major and sustained outbreak of novel coronavirus. So this was published early on in 2020, before this thing really got into being a as bad as it is. And so it goes through. It talks about everything that we're talking about here, and it talks about how it works with the ACE2 proteins and you know, the receptors. And this is a great article. This is a great article, Andrea. This is one that everybody should read. British Medical Journal, the Journal of Clinical Pathology, Gene of the Month, 2019 coronavirus. You know, folks, look that one up. If you're just gonna look up one of these articles, look this one up and read it. It's really interesting. British Medical Journal.
So it's actually talking about, there are several coronaviruses out there and they've been out there for a very long time. So I would imagine that one is talking about, the natural coronavirus
Yeah.
that's out
Well,
there in the world.
so they're talking about, a lot of it talks about exactly that, you know, that you see it with the flu, you see it, you know, I mean, all these things have spike
Mhm.
proteins, right? And so the long haulers, you know, we hear people having long haulers, the people that seem to have symptoms that never go away, like these two men that I was talking to, these two, you know, brothers that I was talking to, that had it last summer, and they still have symptoms. You know, long haulers, that's what they're calling them. And so, what's the relationship to the long haulers and the acute infection and the vaccine? Spike protein. And
Right.
so this spike protein disrupts the ACE2 function, and so there's lots of side effects. So this is important to know, you know, because where are these ACE2 receptor sites found? They're found along in your liver, your kidneys. They're found in your lungs. They found in your airways. All these different things. But it seems like it because this comes in through the airways, and um, yeah. But it seems like the people who have the loss of smell and taste, it's affecting, according to this, all the stuff that I read this morning, it's affecting these ACE2 receptors in the nose and mouth.
Okay. I always thought that was because, they say to supplement with the zinc too. And when you have lack of zinc in your body, you can't smell either.
Well, when you have lack of zinc,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
Okay.
So this loss of this ACE2 function, it's critical because it affects blood pressure. That's why you're seeing people that are having the vaccine, and some people are having heart attacks and things like that. But it's important for inflammation. It can cause damage to the blood vessels, the alveolar cells in the lungs. Yeah. So it's diabetes. It can trigger diabetes,
Mm.
heart failure, neurologic. Again, I just wrote a lot of notes down here You know, so I'm just trying to go through a lot of this stuff. So let's talk about, okay, so we know that this spike protein isn't good. I don't care where you get it from. I don't care if you're a vaxxer, an anti-vaxxer, whoever you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just giving you some information, right? This is the
Mm-hmm.
problem. The spike protein, it can be an issue, right? And so wouldn't your first step be, hey, let's stop this spike protein,
Yes, definitely.
right? Let's stop this spike protein, um, and let's prevent it from attaching to your cell. Wherever you get the spike protein. If you're a vaxxer, okay, you're a vaxxer, and you decide not to get vaccine. That's up to you as well. Let's say you got the vaccine already. All right. So if it's doing what I'm saying it's doing, and in some people, now we're all different. We all have different immune systems. So that's why, you know, like my son says, yeah, but it's only in 10% of the people or whatever, right? Well, that's a lot. That's a lot, in my opinion. You know, if it was one, we should be going, hey, there's something wrong here. So we should be looking for, how do we stop this spike protein from causing problems? Well, we prevent the spike protein from attaching to your cells in case it does start floating around your body. Okay, if the vaccine and the theory of the vaccine is true, good, then it's good for you. Okay. But if it releases this spike protein and it causes problems, then and the spike protein starts developing in your body, starts replicating itself minus the virus, it's still a problem because, like we said, it can trigger those autoimmune diseases, it can trigger other diseases that we talked about. So this seems to be an area that, as I'm reading through the science, look at this article. Look at this article. July 22nd, 2020, it says targeting the SARS spike protein of COVID-19 with naturally occurring phytochemicals. A silico study for drug development. So they're looking at natural phytochemicals, things that work naturally, so they can develop a drug.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, to use critical thinking, if we've had coronaviruses around for a very long time, we'd have to ask the question of why now? Why did this coronavirus become so detrimental?
Right? And why? Because it spreads so quickly, and it seems like it causes that cytokine storm. It causes that extreme oxidative stress.
But like, where did it come from? Like, if they're around for
Let's not even
centuries,
let's not even get into where did it come from. That's a
okay.
whole nother topic, and I think that's where people kind of start getting into problems because they're like, oh, it came with, it might have
Now,
been
I'm not
man-made.
talking about a country. I'm talking about technology.
Yeah, it was. I mean, man-made. I mean, even the CDC is investigating that now because they're saying perhaps it was, right. But let's not even get into it. So the potential therapeutic effect of RNA interference and natural products on COVID-19. Review of the coronavirus infection. This is the European professional medical, I don't know, right? This is from 2021. This was just this is stuff that was just printed February 23rd, 2021. So they're going on and they kind of say the same thing. It was reported for the first time in the province of Wuhan in China and blah, 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 blah. And they're saying that, you know, is there other natural compounds with antioxidant, anti-cancer, antiviral activities? I mean, read this article. Europe PMC, potential net therapeutic effect. You aren't going to find this in a lot of American medical journals because they, you know, they're probably banned from talking about it. But you know, is there any natural products that could play an essential role in preventing and treating the coronavirus infection by inhibiting the expression of the crucial viral genes? Wow. Natural compounds in stimulating the immune system are inhibiting the virus structure and non-structural genes that's essential for replication. Isn't that an
Mm-hmm.
interesting article? Okay, I'll delete that one. So here's from the same thing. Epigalactin gallate inhibits the urodilate specific endoriboclinase NSP15 and effectively neutralizes SARS-CoV strain. Interesting. May 21st, 2021. So the other article that came from the Europe was February, and this is from May. So this goes on to say that epigalactate, right? EGCG. Where do we hear of EGCG? Green tea. Say green tea. Andrea, say green tea.
Sencha green tea.
I'm hinting. Say green tea.
Green tea.
Green tea. Yeah, where do you get EGCG? Green tea. It's the extract from green tea. So here they're saying Europe. This is a medical journal from Europe. Last month, not even a month ago, May 20, a month ago yesterday, Andrea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're saying that EGCG, which comes from green tea extract, were identified as potential inhibitors, and they can be of benefit. Quercetin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I take products with quercetin. I take EGCG every single day. Potent viral antiviral activity, EGCG, was confirmed in plaque reduction neutralization test with this CV strain. It's a compound that's used as a functional food ingredient. Woohoo! Andrea, isn't that cool?
Well, you know, all medication goes back to natural substances.
Yeah. So, yeah. So what else? What else can we use? And I'm going to go through a bunch of these different things. I'm not going to tell you where you get them. You go decide that on your own. Ivermectin. We've heard of ivermectin. What is ivermectin?
It's a treatment for worms in animals.
Malaria and stuff like that too, right? I mean, it's a drug that's used for treating viruses and different things like that. In parasites, most commonly used is in Africa. But this from the National Library of Medicine. This is from November 2020, and that. So ivermectin. But they've shown that ivermectin is only something that you should look at with acute infection. Did you know that?
No, people were using it for early onset.
Yeah, early onset, acute infection. As soon as you get infected, then they're saying that this has some benefit, right? I mean, I'm reading it right from the National Library of Medicine. This is the antimicrobial agents, May 2020. Structural and molecular modeling studies reveal a new mechanism of action between chloroquine and hydrochloroquine against the infection. Again, it works in the beginning. It doesn't really work very good when you have a chronic infection. So it's not like you want to it's not like you want to be on this stuff. Like if you still have symptoms today, Andrea, this isn't where you want to go.
Right.
And that's what they're saying. Quercetin. Quercetin is a natural substance. I believe it's found in onions. Isn't it in onions?
I don't know.
Isn't it found in onions? I don't know. So they They found that the flavonoid guicertin is classified as a flavanol, one of the subcategories. It's found in various vegetables, berries, cilantro, dill, apples, onions. There, see, I knew it was onion. Yeah. It's one of the most important plant molecules showing pharmacological activity such as antiviral, anti-atopic, pro-metabolic, anti-inflammatory properties. It's also known to have a wide range of anti-cancer properties and as a cancer-preventing agent. It's a psychostimulant, and it prevents platelet aggregation, capillary permeability, lipid peroxidation, and it enhances the mitochondria. Mitochondria, we've talked a lot about that. You know what that is, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Little organisms in every cell of your body.
it's the nuclear power plant of your cell, right?
Mhm.
Here it talks about, again, this is from Society for Applied Microbiology, repositioning biotechnology against COVID-19, the case of microbial production of flavonoids, right? And they talk a lot about guicertin here. They also talk about a couple other things that we're going to talk about. Again, drug repurposing. They're talking about drug repurposing. They're talking about using the anti-malarial drugs. They're talking about using the ivermectin, the anti-parasite medication. Right? I'm showing this a lot because if you get infected, this is something you want to go on. Oh, I'm not going to go over that one yet. Okay, so last year we heard a lot of talk about fulvic acid, didn't we?
Yeah, we talked about it a lot.
We talked about a lot. So fulvic acid, what is fulvic acid? Well, fulvic acid, Andrea politely calls it non-petrified dinosaur poop.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's the compost,
Billion
ancient
year compost.
ancient compost is what it is. Fulvic acid, and people, they bring up this stuff called shilajit, shilajit, and they say, is it the same as that? And I'm like, I didn't really know what that was, so I had to look it up. It's a natural substance that's rich in fulvic acid.
Hmm.
And it has potential immune and health benefits. So what is fulvic acid and what does it do? Okay, this comes from Healthline. I'm not going to any obscure websites, Andrea. I'm going to websites that I think are important websites that people go to. So what is fulvic acid and what it benefits? So what it does, Andrea, is it attaches to your coronavirus. It attaches to the spike protein.
Yep. So it can't penetrate your cells, right?
Yeah. So you've got this porcupine, and it's like put a tennis ball on the tip of every single quill.
Right.
And if you do that, so it stops the ongoing production of this. It stops it from being able to bind to the cells. You're going to see a lot about talking about binding as this. And so if it's bound to the cells, then it can't cause problems with the it can't cause problems with this ACE2 enzyme.
Right.
Right. Plus, it stops the reproduction. It stops the circulating protein, and so fulvic acid. I thought that's interesting. Fulvic acid. Here's another one. This comes from the Journal of Diabetes, and this is 2018. Therapeutic potential of fulvic acid in chronic inflammatory diseases. Again, we're talking about a massive cytokine storm. Inflammation, folks. Inflammation, fulvic acid, right? Okay.
Right.
I'm
having a storm here right now.
You're having a storm right now, yeah.
Can
Purified.
you hear the rain and the lightning?
No, I can't hear it.
Oh, okay.
So this comes from Fulvic Science, Fulvic Acid Science and Research. Purified fulvic acid isolate shown to neutralize viruses in a 2008 research article. Okay, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, Andrea. I'm just gonna throw it out there, folks. Look this stuff up. I mean, okay, so
Well, the bottom line is, Doc, you went out and within just a short period of time found all these articles. All people have to do is go out and do a little bit of research, and they're going to find knowledge out there that they can use.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Right. And so, I'm looking for these different things here. Okay. So I don't ever want to get this disease. I don't want to get caught with this. So I was looking up different things that help. Right.
Right.
So here's one of the things I came up with: linoleic acid. Linoleic acid. It's an omega-6, Andrea. So you and I have talked about that. You need omega-6, but you don't need too much. If you get too much, it can cause problems too, right?
Right.
Right, because it causes inflammation. So it can lead to the cytokine storm. So here we got something that's beneficial. It can help you prevent getting. Well, I can't say that word. It can help optimize your immune system, but too much is bad for you. So where do you get linoleic acid?
I don't know. Tell me.
So you get it from foods that are high in this is pine nuts, pecans, Brazil nuts, sunflower seeds, sunflower oil, safflower oil, corn oil, right? And I tell people not to use corn oil, but you know, but it's got this linoleic acid in it, and they're saying that you can just get pine needles, and you can make a tea out of it.
Yeah, you have to be careful with that because different pine needles are poisonous to the system. So you have to, I would recommend going online and buying actual pine needle tea rather than going out and plucking a pine needle off your tree and making tea out of it.
Yeah, exactly, right? But linoleic acid. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay. Then there's this other stuff called shikimic acid, right?
Okay.
Guess where that comes from?
I don't know.
Pine needles.
Pine needles. Okay. The right kind.
Yeah, so it comes from, well, basically it sounds like it comes from any type of a conifer tree, white pine, red pine, conifer tree. I was looking it up. I'm like, can I just go grab some needles off my pine tree and make tea out of it? And they said,
I don't
yes.
recommend it. I don't recommend it.
They say they said that you can, right? And it showed the picture of tea. And so it, yeah. But it also comes from fennel seeds.
Okay.
Yeah, fennel seeds, right? And so here's a book that I'm going to order. It's a free book online. It's an ebook, right? And it's called Rapid Virus Recovery. And Thomas Levy, MD, right? And he's written a lot of different articles and things like that. But I thought, here's something here. Here's what he writes. That he says, frightened with which way to turn. Have all heard of all the deaths from patients who went to the hospital and died of lung trauma. Blah 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 blah. Order my book. Vaccines that can be treacherous. Order my book. Want to have a respiratory hospital at home. Order my book. Things like that. So I don't know. I haven't read his book. I don't know the guy, but I'm just saying that hey, there's something that you might want to do. And so I'm going to stop the share at that point, Andrea. And I'm just going to read off my notes. I've got just a couple more pages of notes that I wrote.
Well, we're moving into 1 o'clock here, so.
Yeah, I know, right? So we talk about this shikimic acid. It stops the spike protein. It stops it from being able to attack. It stops it from being able to attach, right? It comes from pine needles. It comes from the star anise fruit. It comes from fennel seeds. It's not safe during pregnancy. I did want to point that out. So if anybody has that question, can you take this when you're pregnant? The answer is no. It says it right on the website. No. But it's the same active ingredient that's found in Tamiflu.
Interesting.
Right? So Tamiflu, so they know that this natural ingredient, works.
Mhm.
But in Tamiflu, guess where they get it from?
Tell me.
They have genetically modified E. coli, and they get it from E. coli so that they can patent it and call it a drug.
Well, a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there was tons of reports of people getting the flu. They gave them Tamiflu, and then they had very bad reactions.
Well, that could happen.
Synthetic,
Yeah.
synthetic
I,
does that.
I think any drug can cause problems. I mean, again, our immune systems, our metabolic systems are all different from person to person. So, ozone therapy, UV therapy, hyperbaric chambers,
Mhm.
they're saying all this stuff is highly effective for the acute illness, that when you
Mhm.
first get infected. Okay. So, what about the people that have had the problem for a while? They got infected last year and they still and they still have problems, right?
Mhm.
So, we've got to find a way of optimizing their immune system. And folks, there's lots of natural things that you can do to optimize your immune system, and so look those up. Go back, listen to some of our videos that we talk about optimizing your immune system, because that's going to help eliminate the pathogen, because that's step one for you long haulers, you people that are having the problems. And then you have to, then you have to, get the body to heal back up. Vitamin C is a great thing to you know to do that. Um, I was reading up on hydrogen peroxide nebulization,
Mhm.
just using hydrogen peroxide, medical grade hydrogen peroxide. You want to make sure it's medical grade. Um, Vitamin C, it has immune support. Immune support. We can say that it helps with immune system, helps with all these different things. Ivermectin binds to this ACE2 receptor and blocks the spike protein. I showed you and it competes with the spike protein by blocking the spike protein in your body. It competes with the spike protein that's found on the virus, right? Um, Zinc inhibits viral replication. Glycertin blocks the binding. Other bioflavonoids. You know, Andrea, these are things that people need to be looking up. Yeah, I
Oh,
can't.
definitely.
We can't say here, take this product. You're not going to see this on this video. I mean, if you're watching this video, you're saying, "What products are you promoting?" I'm not promoting any products right now. What I'm saying is that here's some research that says that it's the spike protein that's caused the problems in all cases: acute, chronic, vaccine, spike protein.
Mhm.
So the goal should be of every single one of us, whether we've had the infection or we haven't had the infection, we've had the vaccine or we haven't had the vaccine, no matter who you are, spike
Stop the
protein,
spike proteins.
stop the spike.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's actually. Oh, there's my alarm telling me to shut up.
Shut up. Time to go off, Doc.
Time to go out
Thank
there. So,
you for
folks,
bringing this information to us again this Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we're on here at noon Eastern Time. This Facebook channel called Doctor's Clinic, Doc Biz with Friends. You can tune in. If you can't make it at the exact time we're on, you can always go back to the Facebook page and scroll back and see all the different topics we cover to help you optimize your health each and every week.
get healthy, stay alive, so we can all be friends 50 years from now.
Yes.
All right.
Have a
Bye,
great
everyone.
day.